Capitalism is no stranger to oppression, and out of all the things that get reduced to mere commodities and slaves for the sake of generating wealth for the few, one of the things that gets tainted by capitalism and its constant push for expansion is art. We don't nearly focus enough on what art is for. If you ask me, I'd tell you that art is the truest form of expression. And the soul of man wants to be free and create for the sake of creating, something that capitalism desperately suppresses by not just a cultural level, but also an economic level. If you really think about it, most music artists get a good 5 years of their career before the rest of the entire music industry moves on. And why does this happen? Well, it happens because capitalism's need for constant expansion and innovation to essentially always justify the price and the profit motive. And unfortunately nowadays, most art is made with the intention of feeding this machine rather than actually expanding on art in a meaningful and artistic way, thus almost stripping art from its vigor, from its identity. It doesn't also just end with art. This also is the reason why a lot of people in America feel like hobbies have to be productive, have to produce some sort of profit or gain outside of joy. And that's why you see there's only a handful of artists that have massive staying power in the music industry. I'm talking about your Beyoncés, your Jay-Z's, your Taylor Swifts. These are all people who now find themselves in a position to exploit. They are now on the label side of things. When it comes to music, they're no longer the struggling artist that had a message that wants to show the world who they are. They are now the people making profit and putting their own investments into others and exploiting them and extracting wealth from them. And this is not just limited to music as a medium, but it actually affects all creative work and art that is under this capitalist society. We could look at the video game industry. More and more, we are seeing less of a focus on fun, entertaining, and innovative games, and more of a focus on how we can sell video games to you, how we can make profit. We get a lot of rehashings of old video games from past, microtransactions. More and more is it focused on the methodology of how we can sell and less on how we can make something great. And it's even like this in movies. When's the last time you've seen a true original film? It was Obsession. But my point there is not that there isn't any original films coming. Actually, in the last year, we've had a lot of original work, but more that the standard is remakes and rehashings of the same things that we've had for the last 20 plus years. The problem and what I am trying to convey here is that art becomes an investment in a capitalist world. In a capitalist society, art is no longer art, it is an investment. It's the same reason why actual painters and artists rarely ever make money off of their work, but somehow on the other side of that spectrum, some artists' work goes for millions of dollars, okay? That's why the rich trade pieces of art like they trade Pokemon cards. And there's another analogy, even looking at like Pokemon for an example. Pokemon, as the creative piece of art that's a game, has become less about the game and more about making money by collecting, trading, and selling the cards like they're stocks. Once something becomes an investment, it slowly loses its artistic integrity. You see, because our environment shapes and influences our art, and our art will then shape and influence the environment. We are caught in a cycle of reaffirming something that was decided for us, which is capitalism. That is exactly why art has become less about expression and more about capital. That's all I have to say. That's my analysis on it all. If you guys have anything you want to add or debate about in the comments below, feel free to drop a comment. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.